Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
I will be opening the waiting room in about 1 minute, so we'll start seeing the community joining us as well.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. We're currently streaming on Facebook Live, so we will be going on mute. Once we do our housekeeping, we will introduce you, Principal, to make your remarks, and then we'll continue with the meeting.
So right now we're Facebook Live.
Yes. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the community listening session for John Quincy Adams Elementary School Replacement School. This is a part of the school design process for Bond 2020, and we're excited to have you join us today. I'm going to pause now so that those joining us on via Zoom can hear instructions on how to participate in Spanish language interpreter. Go ahead, Yoshi. Go ahead. Excuse me.
Hola, buenas noches, padres y miembros de la comunidad. Bienvenidos a esta reunión de la escuela John Quincy Adams. Vamos a comenzar a interpretar al español. Si usted desea escuchar esta reunión al español, por favor seleccione la opción en español en la parte inferior, en la parte derecha inferior de la pantalla. Es el icono del mundo. La opción en español no es compatible con el Chromebook. Le recomiendo entrar a la reunión utilizando su teléfono celular, computadora PC, tableta o iPad. Si por algún motivo no se escucha al intérprete, regrese al inglés y vuelve a intentar la opción en español. Okay, I'm ready.
Thank you so much. Again, we are very excited to have this meeting for John Quincy Adams Elementary School. John Quincy Adams has been slated for a replacement school under Bond 2020. There's a couple of ways you'll be able to participate today. Many of our community members are joining us via Zoom. So if you're on the Zoom call right now, you'll be able to, there'll be moments where you'll be able to raise your hand to participate or to participate, of course, via chat. If you're joining us on Facebook, you'll be able to ask your questions and submit any comments that you have using the comment sections on Facebook Live. So we encourage you to participate, to ask questions. We want to hear from you because the community's input is very We're going to turn it over to the great principal of this particular school, who will give us a welcome. Go ahead, principal.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you to all the community members that connected today and all the staff. I see some of the staff members connecting. So welcome. We are very excited that we are going to have a brand new building for our scholars in our community. So please, please, please voice your ideas, and because this is the time and the place to do it.
Audio, I will share again.
Oh, can you hear me?
About having this particular,
Jacqueline, can you hear me?
No? I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
No, yeah, we can hear you now. I don't know if you heard my introduction. I just said, welcome everyone.
Great.
I was encouraging everyone to voice their ideas, and because that is the time. So welcome and thank you again for joining us. Just back to you, Jackie.
Thank you so much, and I apologize. We had a little bit of technical difficulties over here on sound, but we're back now. Again, we're very excited about this particular process and to have the community voice heard. We're going to turn it over now to Mr. Brent Alfred, who leads the Dallas ISD Bonding Construction Services team. Mr. Alfred.
Hey, thank you for that introduction, Jackie. And thank you, John Quincy Adams community. We're excited to be here. As Jackie stated, I'm the Deputy Chief of Bond Construction Services, and I'd like to welcome you all back to our second meeting. Quick overview, you are part of a historic $3.5 billion program for Dallas ISD, which is the largest in the history of the state of Texas. With it, we're going to impact a lot of lives and improve the city of Dallas. The last time we met, we heard your three big ideas and how excited you were about this new campus and how important this building is to your neighborhood. And so just know that this is a continuous process. We're going back and forth with this architect team, and these are just concepts and ideas. It's very easy to change things, and it's just part of the process. So we really want your feedback on this. But I would like to remind everyone, this would not be possible without the support of your board members. So before we even get started, I'd like to acknowledge and give Trustee Carla Garcia the opportunity to share any opening remarks.
Pardon me for the late tardiness here. It's a real joy to be here with you once again to talk about the John Quincy Adams Replacement School. This project I'm extremely excited about in terms of your community input and what that'll do for our community at large, Pleasant Grove. I was very excited to see students logging in last time. I hope to hear from them again today, but also encourage more parent participation as well. Really, this is to be for you, to you, and really want to hear what you would like to see in our community. So looking forward to an engaging conversation, and please incorporate me and engage me in this process as much as I can be helpful, and look forward to seeing what comes out of this. Thank you.
Also, Mr. Alfred, the Executive Director for the John Quincy Adams area is on the call as well. Would you like to say anything, Ms. Nunez?
No, not necessarily. Just really excited about the work that's going to happen with John QA. I've visited the campus, and I know the community is very excited for this new building. So happy to be here.
Okay, back to you, Mr. Alfred.
Okay, I won't take up too much time. I'm gonna get down to the stars of the show, which is our architecture team and our program management team, which is Dakita, and our architect is RPGA. So with that, I would turn it over to you, Javier.
Thank you, Brent. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us here today. We're excited to present the next step of the process of designing the new John Quincy Adams Elementary School. So I'm going to go through a brief overview of some of what we showed you last time, just to kind of get everybody back on the same page. So just an anchor statement, the Dallas ISD's opportunity-driven educational environment advances the lives of students, families, and staff so they can positively impact the community and realize a better future. So just keep that in mind. That's our goal here for creating this new campus for you. The team that we have on with us, reintroducing the team, myself, my brother John Lucio will be with me here as well. I've got Travis here, part of the team here to my right. The engineers will be AIM engineer, Victory Park Studios for our landscape, R.O. Woods for our structural, Wells Doak for the MEP engineers, and then Cedric Frank is our technology consultant. Same team we presented last time, just again moving forward. The image below is an image of the E.D. Walker School, which we're just opened. It's not 100% done. We're almost there, but that's what we did to that school there, showing the new interest we created for them and a large addition we did for them recently. So a quick overview of the existing site first, and then we'll get to the new site. And if you have any questions as we move forward, you can put them in the chat or raise your hand. I have no issue with stopping the presentation to ask or answer any questions you might have during this presentation. All right, this is just an image, an aerial shot of the existing campus. All of you are very, very aware of this site. This is the original building that was done here, cafeteria that's here as well, and then some additions that were done over the years. Obviously, the portables that you've had to introduce here to expand the capacity of your school. On the site here as well, on Lake June Road here, we've got the retail across the street. We've got retail also to the west of us. A little bit of retail on the corner here on the east, and then a church that's located here. And I know there's some community things you do with that church as well, sharing some parking and things that you do together as well. So something that we'll keep in mind as we develop this project. Again, just an overview site of that as well, showing your parking here along Pleasant Drive. The wings that we talked about, this is one of the additions that was done later. Your portable is located here, and again, Lake June Road being the primary visual access for this site. Some of the things we talked about at our last community meeting, we're talking about updating the school and to meet the new DISD standards. We're going to improve security for the site. Obviously, that's a key thing that we're doing in all the campuses now for Dallas ISD. There were some comments about integrating the courtyard and creating plaza areas. We also mentioned as part of one of the requirements for new elementary schools, tornado shelters are included in all of your new elementary schools, all of the schools. There was some discussion about having large multi-purpose rooms for school-wide events. Also collaborative areas where we can work indoor, outdoor spaces, and then have academic areas that promote group and team learning. We also talked about, having some additional parking that you don't have now. And one of the things that you'll see here is the safer student drop-off area that we've created that we're proposing for your new site. Also, obviously, large outdoor play areas and integration of that with some of the teaching areas. Discussion about having outdoor seating, school garden area as well. And then one of the things that's unique to your site, and you've got a relatively small site, but you've got some really large trees on the site as well. We'll do our best to save those mature trees and make sure they become integral to the new design. So just to kind of give you an update on the status, since we met last, we're going through, these are different services that are being procured as we move forward. That's environmental phase 1 of the existing building to determine any environmental issues we may have in tearing down that building. We talked about, because of this site and the size of the site, one of the things that will be required is demolition of the existing building to build your new school. As we mentioned earlier, we've got traffic issues that will be addressed on the new site, and we've got a traffic study that has to be done to determine what the traffic loads are in that area at different peak times of the day, so we make sure we properly address the parking and drives for the new school. Also, as part of the school, because of the age of the school, we will have to go through zoning It's a pretty standard process. The school is obviously there already and doesn't have any, we don't have any zoning requirements that we have to ask for any variances on, but we do have to go through the process of doing what's called a plan development for this campus. Geotechnical report, which will give us information on the soil conditions that we are dealing with, is part of the process we'll be dealing with as well, getting that geotechnical information from a consultant. That process is also in procurement. And one of the last things is getting the site survey and tree survey, which is also part of the design process, making sure we understand the grades and draining issues we have to address on the site, as well as we mentioned earlier, saving trees and making sure we take care of some of the natural qualities of the site. Just in general, part of the process that we go through, the Dallas ISD has and is in the process of developing their educational specifications. These are some of the things that we have to include in the review and development of our design, is the utilization of space and the space allocations for classrooms and number of kids that'll be in each of those spaces and how we develop those. So this is just an example of some of the things that we go through. It's a relatively large volume. It's a couple of 100 pages long, and this is just some of the information that's provided there. I just wanted to share with you. Also, this is in that same manual is the things that we have to review as far as site adjacencies and space adjacencies that take place. Again, just a diagram kind of showing you the process we go through. All right, so the first image of what we're showing you here of the existing site. Again, Lake June Road here on the south, Pleasant Drive on the east, and Conner Drive on the west. So trying to take maximum use of the site here, again, because it's a relatively small site for an elementary school. Showing here the existing trees that we're going to be able to keep. There are some trees that we won't be able to save, but again, we've tried to save most of the larger trees on site. So the way we've got it set up now is that we will bring you in along Pleasant Drive and create the new main entrance here on the Pleasant Drive side, giving you parking here for visitors and teachers here, and then significant amount of space to be able to queue up vehicles for drop off and pickup. We've also got a secondary entrance from Conner Drive that allow for buses, as well as some kitchen and other staff to park back here as well, and allow additional queuing as well for cars. So significant amount of queuing we can do now off street and allow parents to wait for the students for pickup and drop off without affecting traffic on Lake June Road. This next image is a similar image, other than showing you now, we're showing the allocation of how we're thinking about how the school will be laid out. Again, this is very diagrammatic at this point. There's not still a long process to go through as far as how we detail how these rooms will be put together, but we basically have the classroom wing here along the south, with the media center being located here in the middle as kind of the central point of the school. So it'll be central to the entry and central to the classroom wing, and kind of becomes an internal almost a courtyard for the school. Again, classroom in here, as we talked about in our last meeting, will be a 2-story addition here. So classrooms on both the first and second levels. The entry point here, admin and special ed located off the admin area, cafetorium here for music and other activities, the kitchen, and your new gym, tornado shelter here with mechanical and storage area at the back. Again, very preliminary, nothing definitive at this point, just a general layout of how we're anticipating the school to be laid out. Now you see it a little bit more in 3-dimensional. Again, as I've mentioned, this is very preliminary. This is not the design of your school. This is only like a massing study to kind of show you how the size of this building is looking on the site. It is, don't take this as the design of your school, please. It really is just a massing. We're showing windows and things there just to give you general indication of where classrooms are, but in no way is it the final design of your school. Again, showing how the parking works around on the east side as well as the west side, how we move through, and kind of just showing you the massing of the school. This is a view from the southeast corner of the site, again showing the 2-story volume of where the classroom room will be, and you can see it here along June Lake Drive as well. Looking from the southwest side of the site. Now, again, classroom wing here, classroom behind, and then kind of the entry point of the, or not entry, but the main point of the media center library in the middle. This is kind of showing that view of where the media center would be, with classrooms both to the east and west side of this element. And here's a view of the entrance from the east side here, having entry here, having the class wing off to one side and the admin area here as well. Kind of keeping this as the focal point as you come in, with the cars being able to queue up along the drives here to allow kids easy access into and out of the vehicles when they're being dropped off or picked up. This is a view from the west, looking at the back, and this is kind of the area that we anticipate doing some of the outdoor learning areas, with also the ability to have some kind of stage area for outdoor activity as well, saving some of the existing trees that are there. And again, the classroom wing here along the south side of the property with the admin wing in the background, kind of creating this outside space. Now I'm open for questions, and any questions you may have about the presentation. I can go back to any of the images you may have seen or anything you want to talk about at this point.
Thank you so much. What a great presentation. Again, if you're joining us on the Zoom call, please feel free to, you can go off mute, raise your hands, go off mute and ask your question, or you can place your question in the chat room. If you're joining us on Facebook, please feel free to just share your thoughts, your comments, your questions directly on the comment section of Facebook, and we'll get those asked and answered as well.
Can you explain the traffic flow, how for pickup and drop off again? Is that 3 lanes or is it just 2? I can't.
So yeah, we're showing it'll be 2 to 3 lanes. This hasn't been finalized, but depending on what the traffic study shows, we'll be able to queue up vehicles along here. There's even some discussion, if necessary, we could actually queue in through the parking lot just to extend these queue lines. But we have the ability to queue along this side here on the east, as well as coming in from the west and queuing up along here, whether we queue up buses here or whatever. We have the ability to, again, hasn't been finalized, but we were trying to maximize the amount of queuing available on the site, anticipating what this traffic study is going to be giving us. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we're just trying to keep anything from happening on the front of the school. Even visitors will come to the back as well. We've removed the lane that's in front now that was part of the original building, and moved everything off Lake June.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, is the school going to be fenced up around from the front and from the sides, or is it going to be an open design?
More than likely, it'll be fenced. Usually the perimeter will be fenced around this backside. More than likely will be a gate on all these entries as well. The parking area may be left open, so I'm anticipating the fencing may start along this edge here, and just the rest of this would be fenced in.
Okay, thank you.
There are campuses where they do fence in the staff parking as well. If the need is there, that'll be taken care of as well, with gates that'll be open during the primary time of the day and closed after school hours.
Are they also going to do in consideration, I'm sorry, it's me again, the windows and all that stuff that's going to be also, I'm pretty sure all schools have it bulletproof and all that stuff, right?
Javi, I think the question is, with the materials selected for the school, will they have the extra security features like bulletproof glass and those shatterproof glass and things like that? Okay, Javier, we're not hearing you right now.
I think you're muted.
We think you're muted. We can't hear you.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'm sorry. I lose my mic every once in a while. I have not figured out that problem. I'm sorry. Yes. So as far as security, yes, there will be security issues or security solutions as far as how you enter a building. we do not do bulletproof glass. That is way too expensive, but we do address any security issues with windows and all. There are security screens that are put on if necessary on some of the lower windows. But yeah, security is a factor that is taken into all the designs of how the school is laid out, on how people get into the building and how people move through the building. There are, everyone will come through the admin area. They have to come through the admin office to be able to enter the building. So there will be definitely security control and how you enter the building. And as someone mentioned earlier about the fencing, even the doors that teachers will go out and students go out regularly, if necessary, those will have access control points as well that limit how people can get in and out of those buildings, out of those doors.
Mr. Hyde, if you would like to go off, unmute and ask your question, or you put it in the chat. You want us to just go ahead and answer it for you?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could go back to that that slide where it had the actual floor plan that showed the classrooms, and then also if you had any like renderings of like what the second floor classroom layouts might look like.
No, the second floor will be similar to this as far as the layout will be. Again, this is very, very early. I don't want to get too much into the weeds because these are just blocking diagrams. But the security point would be here. There would be an entry point here where anyone that comes in or everyone that comes in will have to come through this point, through the admin. Typically, they have to come into the admin and then they're led into the school. There's no direct access into the school except for when school is open. That's when the staff is there controlling who enters and the school. So that's a different time. But during school hours, during beginning of the day, all access comes to this point. And then right now we're kind of thinking that the media center will kind of serve as a nucleus to the school for the admin, for the entrance, and then for the classroom wings as well. But again, as far as specific layout of the classrooms, we're not at that point yet.
Okay, thank you.
Is the media center, I'm sorry, is the media center a 2-floor or a 1-floor?
That hasn't been designed yet, but it may be partial 2-floor. That we haven't determined that yet.
Okay.
Architect, this is Jessica. So are we gonna be able to save the garden? We talked about that.
I'm sorry?
To save the garden, to keep the garden and the amphitheater, the small amphitheater that we already have.
We're not going to be able to keep the one you have. We may be able to reuse what you have, but we will recreate it. If we, so that is something that we're kind of showing in this area. That will be something once we start working with the landscape architects and all, that is something that we know was important to you. We will recreate it. Right now, I think it falls in this general area. So we're not going to be able to keep the one you currently have, but we will recreate it.
Thank you.
And could you go into a little bit more about the potential outdoor spaces? You mentioned that area, playgrounds and other outdoor spaces that'll be accessible for the kids and for the community?
Correct.
Or thoughts on those as well?
So this is a general area where that will be the play fields, because as an elementary school, you will have playground equipment as well. There's typically a separate playground equipment for the pre-K children. So if the pre-K ends up being here, they'll probably have their own little play area on this side that'll be fenced in. The elementary school has the 2nd through 5th graders also have a different level of playground equipment. So theirs will be designed as well. So we've got this area here to the west to be able to do that. Again, it has not been detailed at this point, but we'll work with the landscape architects to get all that arranged and accounted for. But that is part of the requirements for an elementary school.
We've had a number of people who've joined the call a little bit late. Do you mind just going right through the design plan one more time to make sure that everyone has seen it and been made aware of the suggestions that you're working with right now? Sure. And we do have a question about, is there space for soccer fields also is a question.
So as far as soccer is concerned, this site is not large enough for a complete soccer field. This area here is large enough to have a field, but it will not be a full soccer field. There's not that much area on this site. But that is obviously something that we do in all fields, in all schools. There will be some area allocated for large play like that, whether we put goals in there or not. At this point, I don't know, but more than likely, I anticipate that we would. And so I'm going to go back. So I'm this is just kind of showing you real quickly for those of you who joined us late. Again, showing the existing campus here, showing the original building that was here with the original drive-through, the auditorium, admin area that's here, and then this addition that was done, gymnasium that were added later, the existing parking lot, and the portables that have been added over the years. Now I'm going to skip forward to the new proposal. So now we're proposing that, obviously, because of the limited area on the site, the building will need to be demolished to make room for the new school. We have the new school area with that it's kind of the basis, the placement of it was based on the existing trees that are there, trying to salvage as many trees as we can, and also trying to maximize the queuing that's available on the site for people for pickup and drop off. So that's why we've moved the entrance here to the Pleasant Drive side and created this entrance here in the corner, maximizing the queuing available on the site from both Pleasant Drive and Connor Drive. And then, as we were showing earlier, kind of just the basic layout of the classrooms with the media center here centralized between the admin and the two classroom wings, and the cafetorium here at the back of the gymnasium here on the north side of the school. And then showing just a little three-dimensional rendering of what that looks like with the two-story wing and classroom wing here. Again, the media center here in the middle, whether it's 1 or 2 stories, that'll be part of the design process, how we determine how that element will become. Admin here, cafetorium, and gymnasium at the back. And then real quickly, I'll go through some of the renderings we've done from different viewpoints. Again, very preliminary. These are only massing studies. This is not the design of your school. So that'll come as we develop it further with the team. So this is a view of the massing from the southeast side of the site. From the southwest, kind of showing the 2-story classroom wing. This is the media center here in the middle between the 2 classroom wings. And then a view from Pleasant on looking at the main entrance here, again with the main entry here, classroom wing to the left here, and then the admin to the right. And again, showing the space where vehicles will be able to queue up for drop off and pick up. And then a view, Ms. Reyes, of the area where the outside theater area will be here, with classrooms here on one side and some kind of theater that we'll introduce here, and then trying to save the existing trees that are there as well. This area will be the area that's fenced in, which will have more control of how we work from in to out, and what can be the areas that we can kind of maximize the ability for you to be able to teach inside and outside. That was it on those renderings. Again, I'm going to put it back on the 3D, kind of just to give everybody a kind of viewpoint of where everything is. Any more questions?
Again, if you have questions, you can either, if you're on our Zoom call, you can simply take yourself off mute and ask the project team whatever questions you have. If you're joining us via Facebook, then you can certainly ask your questions in the comments section.
Mr. Lucio, good afternoon. This is Trustee Garcia. I do have a question about the site as you showed in the sort of preliminary ideas. You answered the question about Garton's having to potentially be relocated, but other than those, are there any existing functionalities that won't exist on the new site that have to completely be done away with?
No, in fact, your new facility will have, the new ed specs are significantly different than what you currently have. You're going to have newer amenities here that you don't currently have. You're going to have, obviously, the cafetorium will be a larger space. One of the things that you don't have right now is a space large enough to be able to bring all your students in together at one time. You'll have that. We're going to also try to maximize what we do at the media center to make this a focal point of the entire campus as well. So there's nothing you have now that you're not going to have a better version of in the new. So your classrooms will be much larger. You'll have much better control of your air conditioning and heating in the classrooms. Your gymnasium will be larger. Your cafeteria, your kitchen is going to be much larger. So all those things, your administration offices are going to be significantly improved. Your security for the building will be much better. There should be nothing you will be envious of your old when we have the new one. I think the only thing that unfortunately you are going to lose a few of your trees, and obviously change is change for people. So that's one thing that people will have to get accustomed to the new. But I think we've been pretty successful in giving the district better facilities when we leave. So I think we're pretty excited about doing the same thing for you here.
That's tremendously exciting. Thank you.
We have a couple of questions in the chat. Ms. Van Winkle asked, what time frame are we looking at for this to take place?
So I'm going to give you a perfect world scenario, which doesn't always work that way. But in a perfect world, we would start construction sometime next year after the school year is over next year. There's a lot of things in play right now to be able to do that. Obviously, one of the things that's required for this site is demolishing the building. So we can't start the new one until the old one is demolished. And depending on what we find or don't find in that building could alter how we schedule that. But again, in best case scenario, you could have the new school in fall of 24, but more realistically, it's probably spring of 25.
And also, how many classrooms are anticipated? That's another question coming through the chat.
I cannot give you the specific amount, but right now the school has been laid out based on 850 students. So it's enough classrooms for 850 students right now as currently shown.
Okay. Someone commented the fact that can new trees be planted, or will new trees be planted as well?
Oh yes, we will. So the city of Dallas has very stringent tree requirements, tree ordinance. So any trees that we take down will be replaced, not necessarily in size. Obviously, we're not going to be able to plant a 50 or 100-year-old tree, but there will be numbers. So more than likely, there'll be a significant number of trees along your edges, and then we'll strategically lay some out here in the outside spaces as needed to kind of create the spaces we're trying to create. You've also got some trees that run along the north side of your property. There'll probably be some that we'll have to add along that side as well. So yes, there will be significant amount of what we call tree mitigation to address trees. And yeah, that is important to the school as well.
Yes. And we have another question coming from Facebook. Just for clarity, so when do you anticipate the actual demolition taking place? You talked about the completion of the project, but when do you actually anticipate demolition in a perfect world scenario?
In a perfect world scenario, when the school year ends next summer, we would start your demolition.
So that'd be summer 2022 demolition could actually begin in a perfect world.
In a perfect world.
Okay, great. And once again, if you're on the Zoom call, live on the Zoom call, please be sure to just either place your questions in the chat room, or you can go off mute and ask your questions live. If you're joining us on Facebook, please be sure to just add comments and we will ask them here. They're saying, so I think this was going to Mr. Alfred. There's a question about where will students and teachers meet between the demolition of 2022 and when the school opens. So Mr. Alfred, I believe you can address that question.
Yeah, we're working with school leadership to decide where the kids may go. We kind of want to keep them together, but it's going to be a meeting we have with school leadership. We have about a year to kind of figure that one out. So we will keep you guys posted and follow up with you on that.
And there will be conversations both at the local level with parents and with the teachers and everyone on an ongoing basis after this point, and actually throughout that process with school leadership and with Bond. Am I correct, Mr. Alfred?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? And just so everyone will know, this meeting is being recorded. And of course, it's going to be on Facebook and it will be saved there, but also there's project information if you want to keep current on the project and what's happening here. We do have a Bond website. It's dallasisd.org/bond2020. There you will find a specific project page for John Quincy Adams Elementary School. If you want to, we'll also be posting the recording of this particular meeting and the presentation itself at Bond 2020 meetings. So that's dallasisd.org/bond 2020 meetings. And we will have it there tomorrow morning. And there's also a link there. So if you're looking at it or something you have thought, oh wow, I wish I'd asked this, there's a link there to be able to submit questions there as well. We do have another question coming through the chat. Potentially, will students be bused to a new location during construction?
I would say yes, that's possible. That's something we'll talk about with transportation, but that is a tool available to us once we decide a location.
Okay, great. And once again, if you're joining us on Facebook, either Facebook or Facebook en Espanol, you can feel free to ask any questions and make comments in the comment sections there. And if you're on the Zoom call, please feel free to just unmute and ask any questions or share your thoughts. Let me ask, how are we feeling, our teachers and our staff that are on the call, about the possibilities of John Quincy Adams, what you've seen tonight? What are your feelings? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
As for the staff, how are you feeling about what, Jacqueline? Can you repeat the question?
I said, how are we feeling about the from the staff? How are you feeling about the new building and how it looks to be laid out? Any thumbs up, thumbs down?
Well, I am excited about it. Someone did address the concern I had, and I appreciate your response about what will happen in between. And thank you, Mr. Alfred, for answering that.
So we do have a number of questions coming in and comments on Facebook. Some of them we've answered, but I just want to be able to reiterate the answers here. When will they start building the new school? We're looking at, if I'm Javier again, perfect world scenario for actually beginning demolition would be summer of 2022. And then construction beginning soon thereafter. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, great. And about how long would it take to build the new school?
Typically, they take about 9 months to a year. Again, in a perfect world, we because of the demo and not knowing what we're going to find when we demo the building, there's usually some surprises that we dig up, but we would anticipate at least a year, and that's why I think it's more realistic that we probably would open the winter at the end of 23.
Okay, it's like 2024.
Yeah.
And we do have a parent who's commenting on Facebook, and she just wanted to share is going to share her comment here. For the record, it says, my daughter's last year of school is next year at John Quincy Adams. So you're saying that she will be going to some other school, possibly her last year. And she asks the possibility, not even with her friends for the last year, to try to keep those fifth graders together so they can enjoy their last year in elementary school together. So that's one of the concerns, Mr. Alfred, if you could share that with school leadership.
Yes, I will. And that the sentiment of school leadership is to keep the kids together because, like I said at the beginning, we're doing probably 14 campuses like this, and other communities have similar concerns. And school leadership has always stated that's the goal of theirs, to keep kids together.
Great. Well, it seems like our questions have slowed down quite a bit. Again, if you're on Facebook Live, feel free to just ask a question there. If for the Zoom call, if want to go off mute and ask a question, this would be a great time to do so.
I do have a question.
Yes.
So would it be expected, like I'm thinking about dismissal. Parents would, like some cars would enter through Connor and some through Pleasant, but the main, like the focal area of pickup would be where the cafeteria is that correct?
Correct. The cafeteria here, administration as well, and the main entrance here. So yes, there could be multiple areas where children were let out, and obviously how the school handles that's part of what they will develop as the plans develop, how and where the kids will come out. But yes, along these edges here.
A suggestion, I don't know if it would be possible to have different pickup zones because of the big streets we have. And we've been struggling a lot with the traffic now that we started a carpool system. So that's my little input.
So one of the things we'll do, and again, the traffic study will give us a better idea of how much volume we're having to address. But I think somebody mentioned earlier, by having multiple lanes here, some of the lanes will be areas where the cars will be allowed to stay, and others are to keep the cars moving. So the idea is that you'll be able to come in and wait, but you'll also be able just to drive through if you have to, without having to actually stop if for some reason. But once you come in to these queuing lines, you should be able to go out directly, again with the understanding that Pleasant is your least busy street and we could get you in and out the quickest. So that is something that we will look into, try to maximize the ability for people to be able to get in and out. And as you know, I know time, it's interesting how that happens. It literally is like a 15-minute window where everybody shows up and it disappears. It's having watched this happen on multiple sites, we understand the need to be able to make sure people can move in and out quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just wondering.
Just for clarity's sake, 1 minute was going to for clarity's sake, Javier, could you go back and say, because there is a separate side for bus pickup as well, correct?
Well, again, how this will work with school staff on how they want to do that. But right now we've got the ability for buses to be able to queue out here and move, but the buses, more than likely, everybody will need to move through here unless we come up with a separate way for somebody to get in on this direction. But right now we're currently anticipating all traffic will move this direction. Again, the traffic study will show us what they suggest on how to be able to move cars quicker. So yes, stay put for that, Ms. Gonzalez. And once we develop the design, I'm sure Ms. Tatsuka would love to have parent input on how we do that. And once we know exactly where the exits and entries are to the school and how that'll happen, because I know, especially with the younger children, it's key that they have more supervision than some of the older children. So that's something that we'll work on with Ms. Tatsuka and as we develop the design.
Yeah, I would love to see an exit point close to where the pre-K and like the lower grades classrooms are, so that they don't have to walk too far,
Correct.
But,
yeah, right. I mean, right now that's why we put the pre-K children. We're anticipating the pre-K wing being here. They would have their own playground area. We're able to isolate them a little bit better. We would have the ability to kind of create their own entrance and exit here as well, next to the admin. So yeah, the pre-K, I know, are a focal point for these schools.
Thank you.
I have a question. As far as I understand that, students are going to try to stay together, but what about siblings? My daughter would be in 5th grade next year and my son would be in 2nd grade. So how would that go about? Would I have to pick up from 2 different schools? Because you can only keep so many kids together. So how would that work?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm having to talk with school leadership about it. We're kind of more responsible for the construction of it, but I need to have a more in-depth conversation with our school leadership group to address those type of concerns.
Okay, thank you.
We have another question about the number of exit doors or emergency doors for a building of this type.
Oh, well, again, not specifically laid out, but at a minimum, right now, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. You're probably looking at 8 different exits out of this building. Again, the design hasn't been completed, but yes, we're required by code to meet exiting requirements. Again, this building is a new building, will be sprinkled as well. So for fire protection, it'll have that as part of the school as one of the safety features as well. As we've talked about, we have a tornado shelter as well in case of a tornado. This gym is designed large enough to be able to accommodate all staff and students that are located at this site. Again, part of the process that we go through, but rest assured that there will be appropriate egress out of the site, out of the school.
We also have a comment. The new building is much needed for the community we serve. Relocation during the demolition and construction is a concern. So we want to make sure that the staff, when we're talking to the school leadership, we are sharing those concerns as well. And again, we keep having the question about what will happen to the students. As Ms. Alfred shared, this is still under discussion. And of course, parent input and community input, the school input will be taken into consideration and will something be decided by the school leadership team. So the executive director I know is on this call as well, and she'll be able to share that information, those concerns with the school leadership team as we move forward. Is there anything you want to say on that, Madam Executive Director?
That is correct. We'll get the plan once it's more ironed out, and then we'll meet again with the community to try to address the questions that are being brought up as soon as we do have that school leadership meeting and see what options are available.
Okay. So we want the Pleasant Grove community to know that we do have the right people on this call. They are listening. They are making note of these concerns, and we'll take them back and take all that into consideration as we're moving forward planning for the new John Quincy Adams Elementary School. There's a question about security cameras in the new building. I know there's a number of, in all the new buildings, there are a number of security features. Mr. Alfred, do you want to discuss that, or Javier?
I can take that, Brent, if you're okay with that. So yeah, again, as part of the ed specifications for the school, security includes not only access into the building, but also cameras, which are throughout the school. And that's just part of the requirements of the new standards for the Dallas ISD. So yes, those will be addressed and will be included as part of this work.
So as we seem to be winding down some, Mr. Alfred, if you want to go ahead and go over next steps at this time, so we'll know when we leave this meeting exactly where we're headed.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank RPGA for doing a great job of this presentation. I think we got a very exciting design and they're taking the community's feedback. So as far as our next steps, we're going to go back to the drawing boards and we're going to have Javier and his group redefine some of the architecture a little more. So when we come back to you, I'm anticipating around November, December time, we'll have some more imagery to show you. But in the meantime, we're going to be working with small groups, some academic groups, to go over some of the space planning and programming and tweak that a bit before we roll out the bigger imagery to the community. So look forward to hearing from us individually, with the small academic groups, and then with this larger group sometime November, December timeframe.
Wonderful. And thank you, Mr. Alfred. And again, to make sure everyone knows, you can keep track of this building, this presentation, and a comment sheet will be available tomorrow on dallasisd.org, Bond 2020 meetings. And on that site, dallasisd.org/Bond 2020, there's actually a general project page for John Quincy Adams. And throughout the process, you'll be able to track the project and the progress on the project right there at dallasisd.org/Bond 2020. Again, that's dallasisd.org/BOND 2020. And all the information is there for all of our Bond 2020 projects. Trustee Garcia, thank you so much for taking time out to join us tonight. Would you like to make any closing remarks?
I think I'll just follow it up with the general comments of how excited I am to see the development of this entire community project. Really appreciative to see some of even the initial feedback during the first session incorporated here in this rendering. And I think it's going to be outstanding, even if this is just the preliminary or, not unique to this site. I think just the imagery is really exciting to see what the potential can be here. So thank you for helping us dream big. And I'm elated. I will keep in touch and happy to hear from community members.
Great, thank you again. And of course, we close the meeting with our amazing principal of this fantastic school, serving Pleasant Grove. Principal, please, with your closing remarks.
Yes, thank you. I just want to thank all Trustee Garcia and my wonderful ED, Ms. Nunez. I know this is a new project for her. And also the parents, thank you for connecting, and our teachers too. Remember that this is a project for you. So your input is very, very valuable. So the small groups, whenever we call to the small groups, please get involved and get your input, your ideas, your concerns, and everything, because this is for our scholars. And just like reiterate what Ms. Garcia said, we are very, very excited about the project, and we are ready to share our ideas and the great thinking that we have to share with the architects. So have a great evening, everyone, and thank you again.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a great evening. Good night.
Good night.